There comes a moment in every man's life when he feels her slipping away. Maybe she used to text you first. Maybe she used to light up when you entered the room. But now, there's distance, coldness, and confusion, and the instinct for most men is to panic, to chase, to fix, to beg for the warmth to come back. But I want to tell you something most men never hear. That urge to fix things is exactly what kills attraction. Not because effort is wrong, but because neediness is. And in moments like this, detachment is not just power, it's everything. See, when a woman loses feelings, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow process. Emotional disconnection builds like a fog. And by the time you feel it, it's usually been happening for weeks, even months. Most men only react once the silence becomes unbearable, but by then, they're reacting from fear. And fear always smells. Women can feel when a man is chasing not out of love, but out of desperation. And that's when they pull away even more. But detachment changes the game. When you stop chasing, something strange happens. She starts thinking, wondering, doubting, and that doubt is powerful. It creates space, and in that space, her attraction can breathe again. Not because you manipulated her, but because you finally respected yourself enough to walk away. And that shift in energy, from needing her to choosing yourself, is magnetic. Think about it. Every time you call when she's distant, text when she's cold, explain yourself when she's already decided to pull away, you're reinforcing her decision to lose feelings, because you're showing her that she can pull away without losing you, that she can withdraw her love and you'll still be there, waiting. There is no mystery in that, no strength, no polarity, and women need polarity. Masculine energy doesn't beg, it doesn't chase approval, it moves with purpose, with calm, with clarity. Detachment doesn't mean apathy, it means you're grounded enough to know your worth isn't dependent on how someone else feels about you. Now, let's go deeper. You have to understand what's happening in her mind when she pulls away. A woman withdrawing isn't always about finding someone else, it's often about testing emotional safety. Sometimes consciously, sometimes not. She wants to know, can you handle her emotional storm? Can you remain calm when she becomes unpredictable? And most importantly, can you maintain your frame even when she loses hers? When you detach, you answer those questions with silence. Not passive-aggressive silence, not games, but genuine emotional independence. You show her that your world doesn't collapse because her emotions shifted. You stop rewarding distance with attention, and that rebalances the dynamic. Remember, women don't obsess over men who need them. They obsess over men they can't quite figure out. Men who are emotionally available but not emotionally enslaved. Men who show interest but not dependence. Men who can walk away, not because they don't care, but because they care about themselves more. That's detachment. And here's where the obsession part comes in. When you detach, she starts to question, not just about you, but about herself. She starts to replay the moments. Wonder if she made a mistake. Wonder why you didn't fall apart when she left. That self-reflection, that dissonance, is what reactivates attraction. Because now, instead of being certain that she had power, she feels uncertain, and uncertainty is the birthplace of desire. You see, we live in a world where men are told to constantly prove themselves, to show her how much you care, to be emotionally open, vulnerable, expressive, but most of that advice is given without context. Vulnerability is powerful when it comes from strength, but when it comes from fear, it's repulsive. Detachment is the filter. It's how you make sure your emotions are coming from a place of abundance, not lack. It's how you show her that you have emotional depth, but also emotional control. That you're not some robot, but you're also not a slave to mood swings and impulsive reactions. That you feel pain, but you don't perform it for validation. Let me be clear. Doing nothing doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply, but you let your actions be guided by strength, not panic. And that right there is what most men never master. They confuse stillness with weakness. They think walking away is giving up, but it's not. Walking away is the ultimate display of strength. It tells the world and yourself that you know your value, that you don't need to prove it, that you'd rather lose someone than lose your self-respect. And ironically, that's exactly what makes people want you more. because here's the truth. Most women have never met a man who knows how to detach. A man who can love her deeply, passionately, but still walk away when he's not being valued. That kind of man doesn't just stand out, he haunts her memory. He lingers in her mind because he showed her something rare, unconditional self-respect. This isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. Clear on what you want, clear on what you deserve, and clear on what you will not tolerate. When you live with that kind of clarity, detachment becomes natural. You stop reacting to every emotional wave. You stop needing closure. You stop trying to decode mixed signals. You just observe, accept, move on. And when she sees that her silence doesn't shake you, that her distance doesn't break you, that her games don't move you, that's when the power dynamic shifts. That's when obsession begins, because now she has to ask herself the question she never expected. Did I lose something I'll never find again? And that question, that haunting, unresolved question, is what keeps her thinking, wondering, watching. Not every woman who loses feelings will come back, and not every man who detaches will win her again. But what you gain by choosing detachment is far more valuable than any relationship. You gain your center, your clarity, your peace, and in a world full of men who crumble at the first sign of rejection, that peace makes you rare. So when she pulls away, when she goes cold, when she loses feelings, do nothing. Not because you don't care, but because you finally care enough about yourself to walk in power, not in panic. And in that silence, that space, that stillness, you become unforgettable. That's when she starts to wonder if she let go of the one man who truly got it. The one man who didn't just chase her emotions, but mastered his own. And by the time she realizes what she lost, you'll be so far ahead, so grounded, so full of peace, that the only thing left to do is smile, because you didn't just reclaim her attention, you reclaimed yourself. So if you're sitting there, wondering what you should do next, the answer is nothing. Not silence out of spite, but silence out of strength. You don't chase someone who's already walking away. You don't argue with someone who's already made up their mind. You don't beg for love, because real love never asks for that. You walk away, you detach, and not because you're playing games, but because you finally understand your value. You finally realize that your energy, your peace, your presence, it's not something to be handed out to someone who couldn't see it when it was freely given. And maybe, just maybe, when you stop caring so much, that's when she starts to. When you stop giving everything, that's when she starts noticing what she lost. But by then, you won't even be waiting, because you've already moved on, you've already grown stronger. This is how it begins, not with a message, not with a grand gesture, but with silence, stillness, detachment. That's when everything changes. Let her feel your absence, let her wonder, and you focus on your peace. That's the real power.